All right, guys, we're back out here with the 5-cylinder Mark II, and what we need to do is test the fuel system. So after I posted those videos on Instagram, a lot of people said, check your fuel pump, check fueling, check everything fuel system related. So that's what we're going to do, and Jason over at RevMap Performance is actually going to help me out a little bit. He's very experienced with these 5-cylinder 07Ks, and he gave me a way to test the fuel pump flow rate. So what we're going to do is take the fuel line off of the fuel injector rail, put it in a bucket, crank the engine for 10 seconds and see how much fuel that we get into the bucket. And then that'll tell us if we have a flow rate issue. And then we'll go from there. We'll pull the pump out of the tank, check it, see if it's clogged possibly, which is a very good chance that it is. And then we'll go from there. There's already fuel in the bucket, but I want to get video just to see, like, you know, if it's like just trickling out or if it's coming out. What's the issue? So it looks like almost little to nothing actually came out, which is less than ideal. So, all right, so obviously we got an issue with the fuel pump. I didn't think we would, but, you know, I'm also not a mechanic. I'm not very intelligent, so. Gosh darn, fuel make it happener is now working. All right, I can already tell why we're having an issue. The fuel pump is actually completely disconnected. This little fuel line is supposed to go inside this, which it is not where it's supposed to be. So, all right, does it wiggle? It wiggles a little bit. And now our, that's not good either. Our little filter catch thing is gone. It's somewhere in the tank. So that's less than ideal as well. All right, well, I guess I was incorrect with my thinking with the O2 sensor. This was definitely an issue. You don't really want that kind of just dangling there. So fuel was obviously getting pinched off and not actually making it its way through the sending unit. I'm actually going to clean up this ground really quick as well. All right, well, hopefully that solves our issue. I'll come back and heat shrink it just to see if that actually does solve the issue. But I guess we'll find out here shortly. So let's get these lines reconnected. And I got that pump sitting there better than it was before. It no longer wiggles. So, all right. Let's see what happens, fellers. Oh, that's much better. I mean, I don't know if that's enough, but that's much better. All right, so Jason at RevMap Performance says it should be somewhere around 625 milliliters after cranking for 10 seconds. And as you can see, this was after priming, so it's right around a little bit above 750 milliliters. Oh, stood up too fast. I'm a little dizzy. So I think after fixing that issue, we're right where we need to be. Honestly, maybe even a little bit of too much of fuel. So let's get this fuel line back on the fuel rail and then see what happens, see if it runs a little bit better now. All right, so now that we know that we have the fueling issue maybe solved, I'm going to try to run the car and see if that fixed the issue and see if the car stays running. I know that we might have one slight vacuum leak, but anyways, let's just try to run the car and see what happens. Well, that seemed to be the issue, was fuel, so the car runs perfectly fine now. So sick. That's really good news. Awesome. All right, well, now that we know that the engine is running perfectly fine, we need to put water back into the coolant system, button everything up get some hose clamps on some stuff. And then I know I have a slight oil leak down here at the vacuum pump delete, so we're going to try to fix that issue. And then I also need to wire in the alternator, just run something over to the starter. So that's incredibly good news. Huge thank you to Jason at RevMap Performance for giving me that little trick to test my fuel pump. Or else I probably wouldn't have figured it out until I pulled the fuel pump out myself. So thanks, Jason. But anyway, we're going to try to get things buttoned up. We're also going to get the car in the air and put the axles back on, because when I took the engine out, I had to take off the axles. So we're going to get the axles put back on, get everything figured out. Then we got to run a vacuum line from the intake manifold to the brake booster, get the brakes plumbed in. Clutch works just fine, and the linkage is hooked up so I can shift it. That's really it. We just got to kind of button some things up and then make sure that the brakes work, and then we either today or tomorrow can try to test drive this thing out of the shed, maybe about 20 feet, and then see what happens and see if we can go a little bit farther than that. I don't really know. I don't want to, go too far with it, just in case if it dies or something goes crazy. We have plenty of driveway space at my house, so let's get to work on that, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we just spent the last hour or so making this really ghetto downpipe. It looks absolutely atrocious, but it goes back into the cat, and then it goes back into the Milltek system. But finally, the 07K finally has a full exhaust system. So let me get you guys a little sound clip, because I'm super excited. I'm super stoked on that. It sounds pretty sick. Hopefully I can get to use you guys some better clips here soon. But what we need to do now is finish the cooling system. And by finish the cooling system, I mean getting some hose clamps on these two radiator hoses, getting a hose clamp down here, and then getting some water back into this. So we're going to work on that. And next we are going to work on getting the axles back in. That'll be fun. All right, so that's done. We got hose clamps on those. We got a hose clamp on that. Now we just need to fill up this with water. Before you guys say anything stupid like, oh, he's filling it with hose water. Yeah, it's going to leak probably a little bit, so why waste a lot of money on coolant when I can just get hose water? And honestly, I got to flush this system out a couple times anyway. So just use the hose water. It's going to be fine. It's free. That makes the most sense, and then I'll go get some high-quality coolant. But this will work for now. Okay, I think that'll be good enough. We'll probably lose a little bit, but that's fine, so we can figure out, where we're leaking. So we'll get this cap on. Now what we need to do is work on getting the axles put back in, which I really hate to do because I've already done it once, but it's super easy. I just got to drop the knuckle, which is 2 bolts, and then bolt it in. So it's not anything, major, but it's just still annoying that I have to do it again. Alrighty, let's start working on getting these axles taken off. Luckily, it's not super difficult to get these axles taken off, or these axles put back in, I should say. Oh boy. Take the tire off. And then we got to pop off this knuckle. Drop the knuckle down. There we are. And now we just got to put the axle back in. I've been a nasty girl. I've been a nasty girl. Why won't you go in your hole? Smart, Brett. I left the axle nut on. I was really hoping to test drive this thing tonight, but I don't know if it's really looking like we can because it's currently raining. And if you can't see, I don't have any doors on this mug. Okay, now we just got to insert. Come on here. Oh, are you in gear? Is that why I can't spin you? Nope, there we go. Okay, now just gotta lift the knuckle back up, which is a pain. Just gotta push that in a little further. Get the axle nut on. Where's my 19? Here we are. No torque specs here. Nice and tight. We'll worry about the axle nut when the car is on the ground. I also don't know where my very big socket is for the axle nut anyway. I can't wait to get the RMLs mounted up, the snowflakes. But for now, the Sentra Type 11s will have to do. Really like to do a wrap with all of like my sponsors on them, which would be really cool. You know, get NGP on there, RML Wheels on there, Rub-A-Dub, Milltek, etc. That'd be really cool, but I don't know. I ran a poll on Instagram and nobody really seemed to like the idea of a livery. So, I don't know, we'll see. Alright, time to do the other side. The other side's a little bit more of a pain in the butt, so might need to call on my dad for some help. Alrighty, so axles are in. So now it's time to hook up the brakes, make sure that they're connected, and then go get some brake fluid, and then bleed them, do a bolt check really quick, and hopefully it stops raining. And if not, I'll just pull it in and out of the shed really quick. Oh, and I got to make a wire for the alternator to be able to charge the battery. So, yeah, whoops. Alright, let's go get some brake fluid. Alright, so we have the alternator wired in, I believe correctly. This runs through the alternator down to the starter. That's just what I was told to do. So last but not least, we need to bleed the brakes and then go from there. I'm absolutely exhausted. I've been working on this thing all day. But the excitement is keeping me going because I want to try to drive this thing, and it seems like the rain is starting to chill out. So let's just get these brakes bled, and well, first I got to put the brake lines on the caliper, so I got to take the calipers off and spin them around so I don't spin the brake lines, but so close. I can't explain to you guys how unbelievably excited I am to drive this thing. Like, I'm so stoked. Are we leaking because I spilled, or are we leaking because we have a leak? I think we're leaking because I spilled. Alright, well that was a long few hours, but the brakes are bled, the alternator wire is made. So now what we're going to do is run the car and check to make sure that the alternator is actually charging the battery. I have my little jump box, like battery charger type deal that can check the alternator. So we're going to check that really quick. And then we're going to try to drive it more than like 10 feet. Because last time I drove it to like from where I'm standing to where my Audi is, which is not very far. So we're going to try to get to like that tree and then turn around, which is scary. But I did a bolt check. Everything's tight. So yeah, let's check this alternator really quick and then see what happens. Well, my trusty little battery thingy mabob says that the alternator's charging the battery, so yeah, let's try to button up all the wiring so I don't lose anything, and then see what happens. This is really scary. Alright, let's do this thing. Okay, folks, I am so scared right now. Forgot to put this where it needs to be. Come here, zip ties. Alright, so a lot of things are held in with zip ties right now, but that's okay. We don't discriminate. We don't discriminate against people who use zip ties. All right, well, we're smoking a lot of something there, but otherwise, so far so good. I don't see any crazy water leaks. I know I have an oil leak from the, yep, saw it right there. We're leaking oil out of there. Otherwise, we're looking good. Oh, we're leaking water out of somewhere. If you guys can see down there, that oil is looking slightly milky, and I'm hoping that it's just because it's mixing with the leaking water that's over there, but we got leaking oil that looks milky, and then we got water leaking over there. Not really sure what that's about, so it moves under its own power. I need to bleed the brakes a little bit more, but this is good. I suspected things would be wrong, but I'm okay with this. I'm content. I really hope that's not like milky oil. I hope that that's okay. I'll pull the drain plug off really quick, check it out, make sure nothing crazy is going on, and then plug it back up really quick. But otherwise, this is really exciting. It moves, and it brakes, and it shifts. That's sweet. Let me get you guys a cold start clip and a little bit of a rev clip, and then we'll shut her down for the night, because I kind of want to hear how this thing sounds from behind, so. This thing sounds fucking sick! What? Alright, well that's going to be it for this video. I don't even know if any of those clips are going to be usable, but we'll find out. And the cat just jumped on my car. Be careful, kitty. It's going to be hot. Is he gonna figure it out? It's going to be hot. Don't do it. Psst. Get away. Oh, shop kitty. But anyway, the Mark II 5-cylinder did exactly what I wanted it to do. Obviously, there's a couple things that we need to work out, like that coolant leak. I think it's because of the water neck. I reused the gasket, so I probably should just get a new water neck and a new gasket. That's fine. But other than the 2 leaks of oil and coolant, the Mark II 5-cylinder did perfect. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. No fire, didn't blow up, it sounds sick, so that's extremely exciting. Try to get the fenders back on, get the hood back on, get the doors back on. I think what we're going to end up doing is wrapping this car. I think it's probably the most, cost-friendly thing at this point. But yeah, I'm super stoked. So tomorrow after work, I'll start getting to work on those issues, try to get a new water neck, and then go from there. But this thing is looking absolutely killer. Do you approve, Shop Kitty? I think Shop Kitty approves. So, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, do the things, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.